Okay, so this is my review of the first 3 episodes of the brand new Apple Plus TV series Defending Jacob. This series is based off a novel of the same name. The showrunner is Mark Bomback, who wrote all 3 of the first episodes. He also is famous for writing the newer Planet of the Apes movies. And every episode of this series is directed by Morton Tildum, who directed The Intimidation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch. The big name here is Chris Evans, aka Captain America, who is starring in this, and he's also executive producing. And he's starring alongside 2 other big names in Michelle Dockery and Jaeden Martell. And what I think intrigues people the most about starting this show is seeing Chris Evans in show format and in a different kind of area for him, in a deeper role that spans 8 hours instead of 2 hours. So you see right off the bat with episode 1, this show has a very cold mood to it. And what I mean by that is just the colors of it. It's all in basically blues and grays. It's not as cold as Ozark per se, but it's got just that tone to it. And it's dreary. It's depressing. It's all about trauma here, and there's good and bad with that. I think a lot of it works, but what's tough is it also makes it pretty dull on the eyes, and the acting to me is really good, and it's so realistic, which also is a double-edged sword because it also makes it a little dull as well. But the episode 1 does a good job because it's a slow burn, but it intrigues you right off the bat and sets the scene well, where episode 2 picks up a bit, and I like that they're letting, in this episode in particular, Chris Evans kind of show his quick wit and his humor there. It seems like he throws a lot of improv in and he's really good at it. They kind of let him flow. And this is a show that could have been disastrous with a bad teen actor. Thank God they casted Jaeden Martell, because I've seen other shows like this where the lead teen actor is just awful and it really ruins the show, and he's just so good. I mean, you saw his performance in It as young Bill. He was amazing. The kid has chops. But where you really get a sense of the show, and definitely why they released the first 3 episodes, is the 3rd episode. You're seeing this whole family of the Barbers just fall apart. But I think what's interesting about this show is that it really focuses on the parents instead of Jacob for the time being, which I think makes it a little more unique in a very crowded field of family crime dramas like this. And it really hits into the theme of doubt. The doubt that both parents have in their own son, that he actually might have done this murder. And they do a really good job unraveling in this episode slowly some truths we didn't know, that Chris Evans' father murdered somebody, bringing up the interesting concept of passing the murder gene, and the worries that come out of the mom here when she's just running in the road and she just remembers Jaeden as a child almost hitting someone with a bowling ball. So that's the really most intriguing part of the show to me. I think the cool, fresh part of it is seeing the story of not the school shooter, but, oh, what if we see how parents react to a school shooter? What are they going through? Or is their son a school shooter? Like, how does someone process that? And they do a good job, even where it's a little on the nose, but them both trying to erase the murder of Rotten Hell written on the garage door. Just symbolic of them trying to erase that from their mind in a sense, but it's still haunting them that their son might be a murderer. But they play it well too, because there's this, I don't even know how to put it, it's like a chemistry between Chris Evans and Michelle Dockery that's just a very realistic couple that's married. They're not flirting all the time, but something you just buy about their connection, and that they know each other very well, and then they kind of don't. And it just plays perfectly to me. I think you have 2 actors that really hone in on just reserved acting, which I think it's not the flashiest, but it's really good, and it works in a show like this. But then you still see some moments they get to shine. Like Michelle Dockery just had an amazing scene in episode 3 where when she sees the first time the graffiti on the garage door and then runs upstairs and cries, that was very emotional and really, really good. And Jacob, played by Jaeden Martell, he just does a good job of not overplaying any emotional beat. He's got the most challenging part of, he's like the Philip Seymour Hoffman in the movie Doubt, where you don't know if he did it or not. And he's got to make that decision in his head as an actor and not totally give it away, but play it realistic. And he's doing an awesome job of it. I mean, there's just flashes over like, oh, okay, maybe he did do it. And some interesting parts of his character where he's kind of like someone made a fan page about him. So that's really intriguing. And also they're doing good with the themes about social media to keep it more up to date, and how it really just screws anybody over in any situation, and how much it's already screwed this family over, just social media in general, and how just Jacob commenting on that Facebook status really screwed him. I also like how they did the editing in episode 3. I think it was different when Laurie's learning from Chris Evans about his past, them cutting between her learning it, but her also then telling the lawyer and Jacob about it. That's hard to pull off editing wise and come off corny, but it didn't. And I also like how they're editing in between going to the future, which they opened the show with, where we see Chris Evans, who's completely broken down and is in court talking about the case and reflecting on what we're seeing in current timeline. So they're not overdoing that either, which I like, because some shows like to do that and just cut it evenly in time, but they kind of just sprinkle it in to add a little more mystery and wait, how do we get here kind of feel. So I think that works as well. It's effective. But the feeling, just me watching the show as entertainment value, that I think that's where you got to drop the score a little bit. It's one of the most B shows I've ever seen. Like, it's the definition of a good show. Not great, but not bad. Like, there's no moments where I'm like laughing or like, that's stupid, like, or rolling my eyes. None of that. I think it's all well done. And I love the acting all around. The writing's pretty sharp. The music's good. It looks good. But also, you're not really on the edge of your seat yet at all. At least I wasn't. And I think that what the show keeps doing with my head is it's like, the second I'm like, all right, am I falling out of this? Am I into this anymore? It brings me back in. But then it never really brings me to the next level of like, wow, this is great. And then it just like keeps going in that little middle area. It's like in limbo in a way. So it's, to me, just a totally good show. I would say the first 2 episodes are both an 8. I'd say episode 3 is a little better, 8.5. And I think as a whole, these first 3 episodes, I'd give it an 8.3. I don't know how high of a ceiling a show like this will have. Especially like I was saying, it's a very dull mood for good and for bad. But that's always going to make it a little less exciting in a sense. But if that's your cup of tea, I mean, enjoy it. I think what works in it really works. And I don't think it has a lot of bad. I think it has just good. And I'm really impressed mostly by Chris Evans here. I think he's really good. I think he's hitting every note. I don't think anyone's out of character. I think everyone gets their character really well. And I think it was casted really well. So that's what's really I'm enjoying the most, is the acting all around. And again, this theme of doubt about your own child. Is he someone you don't want to even look at and admit to yourself that they're a really bad person? Or maybe he is innocent because they have this underlying story going on about this child predator that Chris Evans, that's like his hope, that maybe it was actually him who killed the young boy. So we'll see. Let me know down below what you think of Defending Jacob so far. I'd love to hear all your thoughts. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe. I'll be reviewing every episode of Defending Jacob. I also have Snowpiercer I'm going to be reviewing, and the new Mark Ruffalo show coming out on HBO. You don't want to miss any celebrity interviews I do on my channel as well. I just interviewed a bunch of people from the cast of Better Call Saul and of Lock and Key, so you want to check those out. Please follow me at SteveVarley1 on Twitter and Instagram for more of me, and I'll see you next time.